poor black girl asked for a $1 miracle. The rich millionaire mocked her, but karma struck back. She believed in miracles, even when the world gave her nothing. A single dollar, that's all she asked for. But instead of kindness, she was met with laughter. A wealthy man, blinded by arrogance, thought her hope was foolish. He didn't know that the same hope he mocked would soon change everything. Because sometimes the smallest request reveals the biggest truths. And when life strikes back, it doesn't whisper, it roars. The only question is, who was really in need of the miracle? In a small town where wealth and poverty collided daily, she was invisible to most who passed her by. A young black girl with worn shoes and eyes that carried both innocence and exhaustion, she moved through the world with a quiet determination. Life had taught her early that kindness was rare, and survival often came at the cost of dignity. Still, she believed that miracles existed, even if they were small. To her, a single dollar wasn't just money. It was food, warmth, maybe even the chance to dream beyond the limits of her circumstances. The streets she walked were lined with glass windows showcasing luxuries she could never touch. Inside, people with overflowing wallets sipped coffee that cost more than what she hoped to find for the day. Yet she didn't envy them. She simply longed for a chance, a spark of compassion from someone who had more than enough to share. That chance seemed to come one afternoon when her path crossed with a man whose wealth was well known in the town. He was powerful, respected, and lived in a world where a single dollar meant nothing. To him, it was less than pocket change, a number he wouldn't even bother to notice. To her, it was hope. But as she approached him with trembling hands and a quiet voice, she couldn't have known that her request would ignite more than just rejection. It would set the stage for an encounter that revealed the cruelest side of human pride and the unexpected arrival of something greater. The man she approached was no ordinary passerby. He was a figure of status, the kind who walked with confidence, carved from years of privilege. People whispered his name with respect, some with fear. To many, he was untouchable. To her, he was just another human being, someone who could help, if only he chose to see her as more than the color of her skin or the clothes on her back. When she asked him for a single dollar, her voice was soft but steady. She didn't beg. She didn't cry. She simply asked. And for a moment there was silence, a pause that seemed to stretch forever. Then came the sound that cut deeper than any rejection. Laughter. He threw his head back, amused at her words, as if poverty itself was a joke meant for his entertainment. Around them, people stared. Some smirked, following his lead. Others looked, away, uncomfortable, but unwilling to intervene. And in that moment, she wasn't just a girl asking for help. She became a reminder of a truth society often tries to ignore: how easily human dignity can be crushed under the weight of arrogance. But even as his laughter echoed, she didn't lower her gaze. Inside, shame burned, but so did resilience. She thought of her mother's words, that miracles weren't always about sudden blessings, but about faith that endures when everything else is stripped away. She held on to that thought, even as the crowd's whispers grew. What the millionaire didn't realize was that his mockery planted a seed. His cruelty, meant to humiliate, became the very force that would set something greater in motion. Because life has a way of turning arrogance into downfall and despair into revelation. As the girl turned to walk away, her small frame trembling under the weight of humiliation, something unseen was already shifting. The moment might have looked like defeat, but in truth, it was the beginning of a chain of events that would challenge everyone who had witnessed it. And soon, the man who laughed would discover that even the smallest acts of cruelty can come back in ways no wealth can shield against. The millionaire thought the encounter was over. He had dismissed her, turned her pain into a punchline, and walked away without a second thought. But the world doesn't forget cruelty so easily. Among the crowd that had witnessed his mockery was a woman who had once stood in the girl's shoes. She had known hunger, humiliation, and the sting of being treated as less than human. Unlike the others, she couldn't look away. Quietly, she followed the girl, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Instead of pity, she offered something else: compassion. She pressed a folded bill into the girl's palm, whispering words of encouragement that reignited a spark of hope. What neither of them realized was that others had been watching too. A man recorded the entire scene, capturing the cruelty, the laughter, and the girl's quiet dignity in the face of it all. Within hours, the video spread across the community like fire. People were outraged, not just by the millionaire's arrogance, but by the reminder of how easily society overlooks those who need help most. For the first time, the millionaire's name was not spoken with admiration, but with disgust. His wealth, once his shield, became meaningless against the weight of public judgment. Everywhere he went, whispers followed. His businesses faced boycotts. His reputation crumbled. And in the middle of it all stood the girl who had asked for nothing more than $1. The man who had laughed now faced a reality he could not control. The very moment he tried to break her became the moment that broke him, because sometimes miracles don't come quietly. Sometimes they arrive as justice, loud, undeniable, and impossible to escape. The video of that moment continued to spread, reaching far beyond the small town. Strangers across the country shared it, each one struck by the same haunting contrast. A poor black girl asking for hope, and a wealthy man laughing in her face. What was meant to be her humiliation became his undoing. The girl, who had walked away with nothing but shame, suddenly found herself surrounded by compassion. Donations poured in, not because people pitied her, but because her quiet strength had touched them. Those who saw her courage recognized that miracles don't always come as sudden fortune. They come through people willing to see, to act, and to care. Meanwhile, the millionaire discovered a truth his money could not protect him from. He had spent years building an empire, but in a single moment of cruelty, it collapsed. Clients withdrew, communities rejected him, and his name became a warning rather than a symbol of success. What he had mocked became the very thing that revealed his emptiness. For the girl, the miracle wasn't the money she received. It was the reminder that dignity has power, that even when mocked, belittled, and ignored, the human spirit can shine brighter than wealth. And for those who watched, the story lingered. It asked an uncomfortable question. In the face of injustice, do we look away, or do we act? Do we laugh with the powerful, or do we stand with the vulnerable? Because in the end, miracles are not measured by coins or bills. They are measured by compassion. And sometimes, the greatest miracle of all is justice itself.